All right, we're being asked to factor this quadratic, 10x squared plus 9x minus 9. We'll talk about this process real fast. The first thing is we know that these are going to multiply into binomials. And so two binomials being multiplied, for instance, an example of that would be like 2x plus 3 times 4x minus 9 or something. These are two binomials being multiplied, and that's what we're going to result in. All right, to the actual action. First of all, we have to identify factors or terms that multiply to be 10x squared. The options in this case would be 10x and 1x. Those multiply together to be 10x squared, and 5x and 2x. Those are the only options we have for 10x squared. And then we do the same thing for the negative 9 here. We identify pairings of numbers that multiply to be negative 9. This would be, well, 1 and 9 and 3 and 3 are the only options. And then, of course, since it's negative, we would need one of those to be negative when we use them. All right, if we're doing the guess and check method, what we simply do is we choose one of these sets. I'm going to choose this 5x and 2x first. If I exhaust all possibilities, I'll go to the 10x and 1x. But I'm going to write those as my first term here. So I got 5x and I got 2x. And then I choose a combination that multiplies to be negative 9 for the next term. Let's say negative 1 and positive 9 are my options here. All right, then what I do is I just go about multiplying this. This is the guessing part, or the checking part of the guess and check. So I'm going to multiply this all out. So the 5x and the 2x gives me the 10x squared. I knew that was going to be the case there. And the 5x times the plus 9 will give me a plus 45x. And then the negative 1 and the 2x gives me a minus 2x. And then the negative 1 and the 9 give me a negative 9. Just real quick, I knew for sure the way I had set this up was to make sure I get a minus 9 and a 10x squared here on the ends. The trick is, can I get this plus 9x that I'm looking for my middle term? And just the last checks here would be, this is 10x squared. These middle terms would give me a plus 43x and then minus 9. So I've obviously missed the target with this plus 43. What I'm going to do then is try a different combination. Like for instance, what I could do is I could simply let me erase this here real fast. Well, what I could do is simply switch the plus and minus between these two. So make it a plus 1 and a minus 9. So let's try that real quick. So if I do a plus 1 and a minus 9, I'll do the multiplications. Quickly about this, I don't need to redo the 10x squared and the minus 9. I've set it up for that to happen. I'm going to focus on this multiplication here between those two terms and then these end terms right here. That's all I'm going to focus on when I'm doing this multiplication, because those give me the middle terms. So now I get 5x and negative 9, and that will give me a negative 45x. And then a plus 1 and a 2x gives me a plus 2x right there. Putting those together gives me a negative 43. Well, my first attempt was a positive 43. This one's a negative 43. What that means is if I just change these signs here, these plus and minus here in between these terms, all that does is changes the sign of this final result. Let's try a new combination. All right, let's try this plus 3 and minus 3 and see what we get here. So the middle term would be negative 15x and then a plus 6x, which would give us a negative 9x. Oh, that's a big deal. That's really close. We wanted a plus 9x, and we got a minus 9x here. We're almost done. All I need to do is I'm going to switch the plus and the minus here. And that move will always just switch the sign of the final result. So we'll make that a minus and we'll make that a plus. And let's just make sure that it works out. And I think we're there. So let's do those middle multiplications now. With those signs changed, we get a plus 15x here and a minus 6x here. Those together would give me a plus 9x. And there we have it. So just to recap, what we do is we focus on these n terms, the quadratic term, the 10x squared, and the negative 9, which we call the constant term. And we're looking at factor pairs that multiply to be those n things. What that does for us, it just minimizes the amount of stuff we need to think about. When we do that, what we know is we're going to get our 10x squared and our negative 9. We then are going to change the sets of terms that we're using here to see if we can work to get our middle term right here. And the more that you do this, the quicker you can be at this guess and check process.